Introductions for the open mic. Wrong sheet, still wrong sheet. I'll get it, Stephen, I know I will. All right. Again, family friendly. Please try to keep to 5 minutes or less. And I'll just say, since this is our first for the season, the time is based, for the most part, on how many people sign up. So it may be 5 minutes this week, but next week we've had 22 on the list. So from there we go down, 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 and you might come in with a 5-minute poem, and we just don't have time. So please consider that. Yeah. So next, I just want to, are you going to do next month?
Yes, at the end,
Okay,
yeah.
Steve's going to do it next month. So with that, no further ado, we're going to go to the 11 people we have on the list. Are we going to bring up our feature at the end too?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Not me.
I'll do that,
I
yeah.
don't have anything left.
Good.
All right.
I'll do it.
All right, Janet Becker, please come up, if you're here. Janet, going once. Oh, Janet's from TP Village, they had to leave.
Oh.
And if you don't know about TP Village in Marcola, look into it, very cool place. Connie, you are up.
Minutes?
5 minutes.
Okay.
Hit the hook.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Well, it seems love has been read today, and that's what I'm writing about. It's romantic love. White sand. We walked through the white sand, my lover and I, on bare feet. Silken were our arms locked together. Clear were our smiles, for white lilies grow in our hearts. Pure, smooth stones we found, and joy is our only message. No secrets can be found, as the sun does shine on our minds. With cooperation do we relate, and love is breathing on that white sand, while we hold the blue and green, small, smooth stones. This is the second one. Okay, can you hear me? Okay.
Oh, good.
Fruitful. My ears have heard the bee. He buzzes in the flower of the brightest color. The flower in your belly makes the honey I feed upon. The nectar makes children, love, poems, and music while I sleep. Though dreams are silent, I can hear the bee say, I take only what I need and nothing more. The flower and the bee share a music that sings love for each other. I taste the honey. What more would I need? I wake up and I'm pregnant. I just have 2 small haikus. I had more, but don't have time. She put the children to sleep now, irons their clothes, the moon is shining. The turkey calling his mate, it is dark up high in the tree.
see if I get this right. Cabin, is it Trenton? Cabin?
Cave in Fenton.
See, I'm not even close. Cave in Fenton, thank you. First time here, right?
First time,
All
not
right.
prepared, no paper, only a computer.
All right.
Hope it'll work.
All right.
Hi. This was after I went to a festival, and it's called Stillpoint Within, and it was at Stillpoint Farm. This festival day of living many levels in chorus, healing more than ever thought, joy, gladness, pain, and sorrow coming in a space of a few moments. Languages of native peoples, grandmothers and ancient wisdom, prayers and drums of forgotten cultures, drawing deep memories and emotions to the surface. Being with everyone, living this moment now and that moment next, a blue heron, a flute player, entering my soul unexpectedly, knowing we are all one, loving together. Wind and sky, clouds and birds, participating fully in my being, while hangs a luminous half-moon, suspended midway over detailed designs of Douglas fir treetops against a sapphire blue sky. My mind is lost in the still point of my soul, where quiet emotions pull the beauty inside out and wet my eyes with love. How many minutes was that? Okay, here's a really short one, because I don't know how much time's going by.
You have time.
I do.
Yep, you have 3 minutes.
Okay, I'll be the longer one. Life's song. I was house sitting and went out on the back deck with my cup of tea. And I saw beauty all around with everything happening. I called this life's song. Everything's singing. The morning breeze is cool, air alive with life. The wind is being wind as it tinkles little bell. Birds know what to do. They fly and sing and chirp, while all sorts of flowers wave their silent beauty. Animals know how to be. The cat is doing cat things. The dogs are being dogs, sniffing things mostly. The chickens know to cluck and chuckle. Of course they can be, but like the velvet rabbit caged aren't out and being free. The bugs know to buzz. The trees know how to be. I know human things like sitting, drinking tea, recording the secret mystery of the life I hear and see.
Lee Darling. Oh, I know, I'm looking over your head. You're overlooking. I'm overlooking.
Okay, is that right? All right.
Good. Lee,
All
stay.
right. Okay, so, this is called Train of Thought. I lift the newspaper, sift through my desk, retrace recent steps, and scan each room. I frown, perplexed by why my train of thought has left the station without me. But wait, another is due soon, though it won't be the same as the one I missed. The difference will elude me like an owl shadow in moonlight. Okay, so I have another train one, but it's totally different. This is called Amtrak into Spokane. With creak and groan and soft woo-woo, Amtrak slides into Spokane, where Dad was born. We sway and swagger past midnight alleys and barricaded cars that idle. I peer down dim-lit halls, seek clarity in the shroud of night. I struggle to unwrap the untidy package of my father and me. We sit in the station and wait until dawn. I'm not enlightened. Okay, and then I have a couple of new ones that I just wrote that are very short. This one's called Wildlife. The creature bursts from the bush, bounces off my shoe, brushes my ankle. It caroms from my shriek, scurries and skids under junipers, tail bushed in panic over aborted dash for the street. The sensation lingers. Sleek, furry caress on exposed skin ignites longing for embrace, life to life. It was a squirrel. And he didn't get run over because he went the other way. Okay. This is called Eaten by Blackberries. She steps closer, reaches for one last clump of juicy berries. At her feet, a vine slithers, sinks its thorny teeth deep into her ankle. She twists, staggers into the patch. Thick vines with dagger-like bristles pull her deep into the bramble thicket. She reclines, wrapped in prickly hammock, empty pail upon her chest, berry-stained lips curved in satisfied smile.
Right.
It's hard for me to hear the
Dan?
presenters when you talk.
Dan
When you did talk.
Liebert's son.
There.
Stubborn pieces of paper.
Is that the title?
It could be. I've got time for a couple and maybe another one. After I finish the first two, let me know, Charles.
Give you a 1 minute warning.
All right. So these two represent a Californian's reaction to Oregon places, and I now live part-time, at least, in Oregon, so maybe they're an Oregonian's reaction to Oregon places, too. Springtime on the Lookout Ridge Trail. An old-growth forest after heavy rains. No place better suits meditation on mortality and life's brief joys. Cathedral silence cushions everything in a world ruled by wood and moss, where shades of brown and green dominate. The ground and sky are here on sufferance, muscled apart by immense, potent trunks of Douglas fir and rough-barked hemlock. Fewer trees now heft the load, for some, felled, lie in rounds, prone, their huge corpses sloppily stacked like giant children's pickup sticks, or mythic warrior gods, Greek and Norse, eons lived but smashed at last by Ragnarok. Other giants, fallen naturally to wind or age, now disintegrate, resigned to becoming soil. One trunk, 80 yards long, slumps across a gully, sagging in the middle to embrace the downslopes, not willingly, it seems, but with its will broken. Defiantly straight once, this trunk now warps to match the curve of Earth's belly, a downward bowed arc. Touch any tree's body here, and you'll find it damp to the hand, for water is covered monarch in this land, birthing, governing, reshaping all. A lake's worth swells these massive logs, saturates their thick moss coat and duff, bloats shrooms and leathery tears of fungus plate, brims the living trees and the sodden dead. Yet in this wrecked and somber setting, where slow, unsparing dissolution reigns and spontaneity, smothered by deep decay, is made to seem frivolous and even vain, still some sparks of gaiety are kindled. Random winking eyes glint from mossy beds to catch my eye's circumference and turn my head. These tiny wildflower color bursts first lure a glance and then command all attention, riveting my vision as their carefree flames challenge the heavy air. Purple-petaled fairy slippers with white-pink bases, mountain buttercups with their 5 yellow petals, harvest brodiolias sharp purples pricking the air, mugwort with its green or mauve clustered buds, and tri-petaled western trillium, white in youth but ripening with age to daring lilac pink. Rare sunrays sift through the canopy's gaps to light these blossoms like birthday candles and make the wet moss gleam, nearly glitter. All silence left in the noisy world is distilled here to make an elixir so intense you hear the colors. Everything is leaving or has left, but these hues stay for the time it takes a caddisfly to live and die. Oh, 1:45. I don't think I can fit another one in 45 seconds. So.
Thank you very much.
Paul Halupa, come on down.
I'd like to offer a couple of poems today, slip them somewhere in between Charles's A River of Dusty Places and John's The Sunlight Felt Like Tomorrow. Wow.
Thank you so much. Glad you love it.
Every once in a while we find another hapless, helpless, hopeless, just beyond our reach. In a kind of surprising place, this happened not long ago. I call this one Carnival Ride. It's September, evening at the State Fair, and before making the hour's drive home, my wife and I pause in a section of the fairgrounds they call Thrillville and watch as a carny, wasted by summer, stares at a vacant moon before loading a line of riders into something called the shockwave. One by one, the carny checks constraints, pulls a lever, and disappears as the machine jars into motion. The deck pendulums, side to side in a rising arc, on its way to an unmistakable tipping point, where it will bound into its first violent turn, a meteor slicing noise and manufactured light. But long before the machine reaches summit, a child's scream pierces the carnival air, cuts through the chaos, and we find in seat 11 a young girl whose wails drain her of everything but fright, panic, terror, dread, alarm, and despair. She cries without inhibition, tears staining a face that would otherwise have worn youth like a gift. We watch as anticipation and reality collide in circle after circle of indifference and fear, see 10 irretrievable years of innocence die. Mary Lou shuts her eyes, grips my hand, squeezes prayers into the spaces. We want it all to end, but there is no one to stop the ride. I received a call yesterday from a daughter who was searching out a poem for a friend who was, well, having a hard time, some rough times. And she hoped that we could find something that might soothe her and that might have soothe him and might have October in it. Our first search went through William Stafford, a poem of his called Assurance, and that led to a poem I'd forgotten I'd written in 1993, just after William Stafford died. And let me share just it in a little bit of October with you. It's called A Guide, William Stafford, 1914 to 1993. We are called into October and silences. A poet has died. Behind him, beneath him, around him are emanations. Turn your ear and you may yet hear in the orange moon the crumpled brown of a windswept leaf, or in the watercolored lines of the geese, a recollection. From Oregon he emanates, out from the cold, from the small hazards we make too much of. An ivory voice sounds, "You're not alone." The whole wide world pours down. Into such assurance we travel. Are you still afraid? Into such assurance.
Thank you. Amelie Hill.
Thank you. The first poem I'm going to read is called The Soul of Society, and it has an epigraph from T.S. Eliot. Culture may even be described simply as that which makes life worth living. What is it that holds any civilization together if not its culture? And what is culture if not the stories told to reveal the soul of a people or relieve the burdens of the day? Whether spoken lore, tales of heroes and glory, or images put on canvas or pulled out of a stone by a hand working from a singular vision of beauty or perfection. The color and form of the soul of any society is evoked through imagery and words, both singular and plural, literal or figurative. It is passion and warmth, the radiation of many hearts and minds in a daily life devoid of edges and hurt, without boundaries, embracing one and all, focusing on a thing or a person, and in the abstract can include the entirety of the universe. Thank you. The eyes of the night. Stars, faraway lights, flaming, glowing, twinkling, a seemingly innocent splendor whose vast distance renders them soft and cold, insignificant within the reference of the universe, the eyes of the night. Yet up close they are suns, hot and brilliant, compelling and immense. Singularity. Who or what is it that looks out of my eyes, thinks my thoughts, and lives my life? I believe I am conscious, but I have no idea what that means. I experience, feel, and move, but is it my body doing these things or something else? And if it is something other, what is that? We have decided that being self-aware is important. Indeed, I know I am here, but where is here and what am I? I can look into a mirror and see a reflected image I believe to be me, and then look into my own eyes. Is what I see different from what you see when you look into my eyes? And how would we know? How can it be different? How can it be the same? To look out of my eyes is to see a singular point of view of life, of the world, or what we have agreed is the world and life. What do we see?
Okay, like that.
Thank you. Cold days. There have been cold days like the first frost that were welcome and delicate as the fragile rime on dried weeds. There have been cold days like those at the end of a long dreary winter that seemed colder than the space between the stars, empty and distant, brittle as old glass, sharp as needles. There have been cold days that yawn into an endless future of loneliness and despair, of bleakness and desolation. There have been and always will be cold days that yearn for the slow stirrings of warmth as spring awakens. There are the cold days allowing trees and seeds to gestate, transforming drab days into bright summers. All of the cold days that must be endured again and again, the cycles of life that roll on and on, over and over, all the days that are warm and bright, dark and cold.
Thank you. Next up, Brian Salisbury. All right, Brian.
Oh.
No, it's the other one.
What?
It's the other one.
What's that? Okay, I'll start with two and see if I have time for anything else. Yeah, okay. Okay, the first one's a kind of a grim poem, I guess. It starts with it's called No Mercy. And it starts with a backwards Romanian chant from Eyes Wide Shut, which is supposed to be sounding very satanic. but anyway, it's really about shallow office acquaintances and particularly bad bosses and stuff. But anyway, I won't try to read the backwards Romanian thing. But in that film, there's this wonderful scene where the guy has a robe and a big staff, and he stomps it, says, whoa. Anyway, a sucker punch, thought we were friends. Corner office worth it? Sure you won't try to make amends? Just look in their eyes, they're goat opaque. They may talk all nice, but really all fake. Sociopathy works, world full of jerks. Crime pays, evil has its perks. 71 stars, black hole just ate them. Wasted life, find it and take them. Hand out cigars at unbirth of races. Corporate genocide, God's baitin'. It's to my chagrin, I see you're quite thin. Goblin feast for sup, it'll fatten you up. Okay, this one is, okay, good. This one is one of many parodies I've done recently, which kind of refer to Trump and his ne'er-do-well companions. So it's a nice song on YouTube called Song of the Witches, and it's sort of appropriate for as we approach Halloween. And it sounds a little like Night Before Christmas when you read it, not at all when you sing it. I'm not going to try to sing it. You think you know witches from stories and such. Maybe alt-truth isn't asking too much. We gerrymander votes and hack them along. To stir magic cauldrons, you got to be strong. It's grander than fiction, the life that we lead. Just think of your prospects, my darling, take heed. A sprinkle of glamour, a dollop of charm. Trading security secrets and blackmail as long as your arm. Ask us to glance at your schedule next week. We'll rig you hacked voting that wriggles and reeks. Made of lies and psychosis and corruption too. Stir in emoluments and extortion to do. There's no need for vanity, no need for fuss. We know that you're bursting to be one of us. We alt-fact the truth, gained from climate change harm. Steeped in corporate secrets and bribery long as your arm. Kidnapping babies to kill in the camps. We claim to like Christ, but drink war's blood like vamps. Tyranny's tantrums have come into play, striking down snitches for what we don't say. Oh no, on the outside we look proper and prim, but we enforce nobility's ill-advised whim. Shameless and whining, we always ask why, for what cooks in our cauldron could call down nuke skies. We fought hard in favor when temptation arrived, threatening reporters and offering bribes. We'll do tyrants' bidding and fire off the nukes, though he murdered Khashoggi and Epstein, it just makes you puke. Tyranny's child has not broken us yet. Try as he might, not a drop will he get. Tyranny's tantrums have come into play, striking down snitches, shiny thing for a day. Oh no, it's when we are worried that you must take care and learn how to dance when there's blood on the air. The world is a dangerous place, little one, but you already know there are devilish deeds to be done. Wicked and strong with our Nazis and Klan, straight backed with incredible profit to hand. It's when we are frightened that you must take care, but we'll hack your votes again, darling, even if you dare. Tyranny's child is not impeached just yet, even if soon Nazi Pence will you get. He chants on pentagrams in dark rooms, but our Senate will kill impeachment, you loons, oh no.
Joyce Salisbury. All right.
He said something about putting up the forms in the parking.
Ah, maybe I do.
605, see?
Work for the city?
Well, I taught English for a long time, and I sometimes got intrigued by their life experiences. So this is from one of their stories. It's called Johnny's Echo. Johnny, you could call geese in from anywhere to loop down from the sky in answer to your lure of safety. Or as wise as an Iroquois, throw the doe's moan well enough to bring a buck to your hidden ambush. And woods-wise, you went to that jungle war where vines looped down in blood and the hunted gave a strange call. You were haunted by booby traps and bombs, the terror of being prey. Your poems spoke of running in a strange and beautiful wood and of your age. Dead now, shot by your wife as you broke down her door. Killed by your most elusive prey. In terror of the fury of your rage. That doe you most loved and hated learns a new moan. While in another room, your small son practices his call. That's a real cheery upbringing. some cheerier poems. This is at the 50th high school reunion. We, growing up in the Depression, were happy, chasing the Iceman down the street, playing hide-and-go-seek in alleys lined with sunflowers, singing Ollie Ollie out and free to call the lost ones in, playing softball in vacant lots, or practicing the piano after school while our mothers cooked supper, baked apple pies. It was sunshine, green grass, and roses, or snow forts with snowballs flying, and snowmen with carrot noses. We carved angels in the snow, no dark clouds in our skies, until Pearl Harbor and Roosevelt's voice intoning over the auditorium loudspeaker a call to war. Then we had victory gardens and recycled cans, stamps for sugar and meat and gasoline. Still, though brothers and cousins boarded trains for far places, we were happy. Now we gather here to eat and laugh, share pictures and stories, note the angels we have carved, and try to call the lost ones in.
Joan W., you're up. All right?
Okay, this poem is called Belch Merits, which is a German word that means something to the effect of heartache for the world. So Belch Merits. Tola is meaning to walk his young dog whom he loves, and he does. But a path once taken denies so many others, he is thinking, and a deep driving sorrow overcomes him with a heaviness which overtakes his every step. His heart aches for what might have been. I once left a sad, lonely marriage. As I walked out the door, my shepherd mixed puppy wanted to follow, and I, in my callous self-pity, slapped his face. I wake this dark night, almost 50 years later, heart aching for my long-ago dog, who in his innocent animal sorrow wandered the streets after that, searching for weeks, I was told, and then disappeared. How often since then and before have I caused, or without helping witnessed, how much pain to my fellows, both creature and human? What good is the dollar I give now and then to the poor when I know at this moment, down there at the door to America, not puppies but children, as precious as yours and as mine, who cling to the skirts, to the hands, to the pants of their hurt, hungry mothers, fathers, uncles, and brothers are slapped back into danger. I, too, was a refugee many years back in the arms of my parents. That same liberty statue under whose welcoming gaze we arrived across oceans, now gone blind, is mocking a desert not nearly so far to the south as it seems. Our whole planet is dying. Those great holy beings, whales, elephants, tigers, the forests, the jungles, the oceans are dying, all dying. I know it's cliché by now, old news you might say. But right here, right now, on the Oregon coast, dead whale after dead whale washes up on the beach. Huge rotting corpses, dead from starvation. While elsewhere, but close as our very next breath, the lush, living Amazon jungle is turning to ash. As I walk with my friend on this lovely tree-lined footpath by the duck-happy river, which will soon, so I hear, be paved over, improved, I think of the paths that we humans, with our vast and powerful imaginations, might have taken, if only. My every step heavy this evening. My heart aches for what might have been. Belch Merits. 2 minutes. Okay, I have a poem that maybe takes 2 minutes. This one is a very strange one. I have a friend, Erica Goss, poet, wonderful poet, who has a book out called Night Court. As if like at night when you have insomnia, you know you're being judged left and right by your inside self. So this is sort of my Night Court poem, not edited yet. I ran away. I ran away because I was so happy you were back. We were back. It seemed you said that you were coming back. You held my hand. We touched at last, and so I couldn't wait. I had to run. I didn't mean to run away, you see, just run and run and run with the sheer joy of this, that you were coming back. The world was calling me. The air was lifting me. My legs were wings. My tiny house too small. It couldn't hold my joy. I had to get outside and run, and so I ran. But I didn't mean to run away. I mean, I think that I'm still running, not away, but running high, except I crashed and I'm alone. You never came. I'm punishing myself. If only I'd stayed put. You see, I think you might have come and found me gone, and if you came, why did you leave? You should have waited. You should have known that I was waiting, just not here, but waiting, always waiting, loving you inside my running. I was in the heavens flying from the joy of this, that you were coming back. Please understand, I didn't mean to leave. I meant to be right back, before you even had the time to make it back yourself, but I got lost inside my flying like the leaf that's caught by wind spins off its branch. It took too long to get back home. Please understand, so many years of waiting. Now this joy-filled running, like the dogs who run because of happiness, or like the wildest horses, free at last of lonely, filled with milk of us to bursting out, but you came and I was gone. How could you know? You didn't wait. I got back home. The house was empty. Thank you.
All right, Stephen, you are up to close us.
Okay, so I'm going to close out the open mic, and then I'm going to bring one of our presenters back for a few more minutes to close us. So I'm going to do 2 pieces real quick here. I've been posting a lot of my poems on Instagram lately and having a lot of fun doing it. So this is one I posted this morning, and it's a political poem called Last Seen Signals. I fight for what is not left. I fight for what went long ago. The smiling faces, flowers, long hair, and bell-bottoms of you. Now only a faded view, left forgotten in the memories of new wars, new scores, new reasons to be afraid by the many, the masses, no longer aware how it could have been had we just not given in to the many-numbered royalties, the commercialism cash cow, the callous concern of corporate bottom lining, until we're all scared for our jobs. No longer able to see the possibility that was at our fingertips. If only we could have held on a little longer, persevered a little stronger, not been in such a drug-induced haze. Oh, the ways of the world, the wonder now gone, replaced by hunger, the mad plans of melancholy, mentioned in passing, the last seen signals of the 60s. Do you remember when peace, love, and brotherhood were the current topics of discourse? Do you remember when government regulation was strong enough that air pollution standards created cleaner air in Los Angeles and the big banks in Wall Street operated with public scrutiny? Do you remember when aerosol cans started disappearing from store shelves, replaced by pump sprays? Do you remember why? Do you remember truth in advertising? Do you remember the fairness doctrine, when opposing political views had equal airtime by law? Do you remember when telephone companies, public utilities, television, media, airlines, health insurance, and banks were not mega monopoly corporations and monopolies were broken up by our government? Do you remember when the Supreme Court was fair and balanced and politicians of opposing parties actually worked together? Do you remember when big money didn't buy up all of government? Do you remember when public education was important, reliable, affordable, and funded? Do you remember when teachers, firemen, and police officers were important jobs with public support for fair wages and benefits? Do you remember when the average American family could afford a house, a car, and a college education for their children? Do you remember Make Love, Not War? The 60s was a paradigm shift, at least a brief moment of truth, a glimpse of the golden age, the future that could be if peace, love, and brotherhood really reigned in the world. In the 60s, we saw that the evolution of the human spirit was possible. We saw that living in harmony with our fellow man and Mother Nature was doable. But when you look around now, it appears like we have forgotten all of that. I fight for what is not left. I fight for what went long ago. The smiling faces, flowers, long hair, and bell bottoms of you. Thank you. And one quick one from my newest book, The Power of a Woman. This one is for my daughter, and she spent years, a lot of trouble trying to have her first child, and she finally did. There's a picture of here, of her, a silhouette of her with her first child. She also graces the cover of my book. So this is one of the poems for her in this book. Through the eyes of a child. I can see once again through the eyes of a child, as I remember a little one who loved to run wild. On Easter morning, so anxious for the egg hunt, in your brand new dress, so full of excitement, I can still see that little girl, the glow of wonder in her eyes, who showed exuberant love through her giggles and her sighs. Now it's hard to realize how quickly you have grown, so proud, to proud and glorious womanhood, carrying a child of your own. A child you've wanted dearly, you've tried for so many years. A child you thought you'd never see. You fought back so many tears. I'm grateful now and filled with joy. Your time is finally here. I'll love him like I've loved you as you enter this new frontier. You know I'm proud as a father can be to see you excited again. Just like those days when you were young, so eager for your life to begin. Through the eyes of a child, I know you'll see the joy your little boy can bring when it's your turn in his growing years to share his joy and sing. Just as I'm still singing to you in my heart where it always is true, that you're still my little girl running wild, I can see again through the eyes of a child. Thank you. So that's the end of our open mic, and Charles says he's done. He's read enough. John had to leave, he had another event. So we're going to invite Steve Riccia back up to tell us just a little bit more about his wonderful contraptions and artwork. So please still welcome Steve Riccia again.
Thank you again.
Yeah, you're good.
Realize everybody else is smaller than we are.
Yeah, he's good at it though.
Okay, couple stories. They're short stories. Not necessarily about contraptions, except maybe two flying contraption stories. The first one will tell you how small this world really is. The first story is a Burning Man story, a flying story, and an art story, art story. The first time I went to Burning Man was 2002, and I brought one of my ultralight flying machines with me on a little trailer, camped out at the airport. So the first time I flew around Burning Man, and first of all, Burning Man is in the middle of nowhere. And the first time I flew out there, I went about 10 miles north of the Burning Man site, and just flying around. And down below me, I saw a little encampment. So I flew down there and landed in there just to say hi. And it turned out to be a group of about 25 people. and they're all from Reno, Nevada, and they come out during that time period. It was during Labor Day weekend, and they camp out there. And it's in, Burning Man is in this flat expanse. It's in the Black Rock Desert. It's like 20 miles long. It's just flat. And from 10 miles away, you could still see the man from their encampment. So I fly in there, and it was late in the afternoon. And they, like I said, they were from Reno, and they introduced me to everybody. And I stayed there for a couple hours just talking with them. And I said, look, I got to get back because people are going to wonder where I'm at. They know that I can't fly that long. And so they said, well, if you're back next year, come by for Labor Day breakfast. You're more than welcome. I said, okay, that's great. So took off, went back to the airport at Burning Man, the Macon airport there, and enjoyed Burning Man. Well, fast forward a year later, I flew back to the camp, and it was during the Labor Day breakfast. And one thing I forgot to bring with me, I used to carry these little announcement cards, and it had a picture of one of my favorite pieces called Diversion by Gustav Klimt. Another great story there too, but we only have 2 minutes. So I forgot to bring these little announcement cards that I would, they were blank, but they had the image of the version by Gustav Klimt, my version of the version. And I forgot to bring them with me, so I flew in there and I met with Leo, who was the guy running the event, his event. And I said, boy, I forgot to bring my cards with me. I wanted to pass them out to people. And they said, what kind of art do you do? I was being technical. I said, I do Polaroid SX70 manipulations. So we gather around, circle, having breakfast, and I'm sitting next to his wife, Mary. And Mary says to me, Leo, her husband, tells me that you're an artist. What kind of art do you do? And I says, well, I do Polaroid SX70 manipulations. Being real technical because nobody really has heard of that. She says to me, we have a friend in Reno, Nevada that has a friend in Eugene, Oregon that does those. In fact, we bought a piece of his art at a show. And I says, was the name of the piece 46 Studebaker? And Leo and Mary look at me, how did he know that? Well, they happened to be at an opening 7 years early, and I only sold one piece there, and they were the buyers of that piece. So it shows you how small a world this really was to run into someone that bought a piece of my art 7 years later. So that's the first one. The second one is another flying story, and it's also a story of life and death and opportunity. So I had another flying machine that I built. It was a kit plane, another kit plane, that I crashed out by Fern Ridge. And I did survive it. And people asked me, was I afraid before I crashed? And I said, well, if I got afraid, I would have probably died. Because what you have to do is, the situation I did, it was pilot error. I stalled the plane, it came up, and it fell down to the ground, about 350 feet, doing about 60 miles an hour. And what saved me was the chrome moly cage and my 4-point harness system. And at that situation, what you have to do is, once I realized I was in the stall and I came down, you have to try to fly the best you can do. And the normal thing, what people would do, is they would pull up. And all that's going to do is make the plane go up and come back down. So all I really could do is, before I hit the ground, I pulled up. So instead of hitting the ground like this, I hit the ground more like this, and the plane crashed. There's 2 wing tanks full of gas next to me, and I landed upside down, and I was in the cockpit upside down, and I could see one of the gas tanks leaking, and I have a hot engine behind me. That's when I got scared. I said, now I gotta get out of this thing. I had to kick myself out. Got myself out, and all these people started coming around. Within 5 minutes, the Lane County Sheriffs come out. 2 weeks earlier, they had another ultralight crash, not too far away, and the guy actually broke his back. So these guys come out, and they're about this tall, and they come out to the wreckage, and they start pulling apart, and they go, where's the pilot? And I go, and all I did, I had a microphone, and the microphone hit my lip, and I just split my lip. Like I said, the canopy was made of this chrome moly steel frame, but it had all these aluminum struts and pipes around me. Every single one of those broke in half. And I was lucky I didn't get impaled by one of them. So they're digging through the wreckage, looking for the pilot. And they said, "Where's the pilot? Where's the pilot?" I go, "Well, I'm the pilot." And they both look at me. And they're short. You know. And they look at the crash. They look at me. And so survived that. So, okay, gotta clean up the mess here. Well, the news crews come out. And, oh, shoot. You know, they were close by. They heard it on a scanner, airplane crash. They come out there. This was a week before the opening for the Salon de Musée, which is a show that I did for the Mayor's Art Show. So they come out, and they want to interview me about my airplane crash. And I felt, you know, kind of dumb, stupid about it, but it's my fault. And they come up to me and they says, "What happened? You know, how did you survive?" And this and that, and what's going on? And I go, "The 10th Annual Salon de Musée will be at the Heron Building, located at 576 Olive Street. The opening reception is on the first Friday." And so I started plugging the salon. And these guys looking at me going, "Wow, he's in shock," or something like that. So I took advantage of the opportunity to push the salon. I just saw a good way of doing it. So that's it. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out. Thank you, Steve, for the invite. Charles, you too. And you too. He's back there. And had a wonderful time here. If you have a chance, please come by the New Zone Gallery. We're located right across the street from the Holt Center at 22 West 7th. Free parking upstairs, and we're open every day of the week. So again, thank you.
Hey, thanks again for all of our readers today, open mic readers, featured readers. Give yourselves a hand, this was great. We hope you will join us next month when our featured readers will be Sharon Lask-Munson and Grace Richards. There's some flyers about them back there. And if that's on November 11th. 4 days before that, on November 7th, if you have an occasion to be in Salem, I will be the featured reader at the Salem Poetry Project's reading at the Ike Box. So get to Salem, come and hear me read. All right, thanks again for coming. We'll see you next time.